If I told you guys this was all that was left over of my truck after I chopped it up, I would actually be lying to you because my truck's actually over there. But there is something I want to tell you guys, and that is that I actually am going to be dismantling this vehicle pretty much to nothing. The only thing that's going to be left on here is probably going to be the frame, maybe the cab and the doors, maybe the fenders, and everything else is actually going to be swapped to that frame that I just showed you right over there. The difference between that frame and this frame is that this one's a single cab short bed and that one was a single cab long bed. Fairly soon I'm going to be picking up an extended cab, and once I do that, I'm going to be removing and replacing the body mounts, and I'm going to be moving them further back. After I do that, I'm going to be installing a short bed in the backside, and then I'm going to be converting it to four-wheel drive because this is currently a two-wheel drive suspension truck. After that's all done, I'm going to go ahead and box the front side of the frame, and then we're going to go to town putting in all the goodies. But for right now, this is what we're working with. I guess the next best question is, why would I actually do this? So as you guys know, I've had my swap all finished, good to go for the last 2 years or so. Tens of thousands of miles have been put on it, different types of wheels, different types of tires. I've done a lot of stuff with this truck. I love having the short bed single cab because it's light, it's easy to drive, it can fit anywhere, I can do U-turns super easy, turning radius is really nice, and I can do all kinds of stuff. I've done modifications to the frame so it can accept my 5-speed transmission. I've modified the engine cradle so it can accept the 5.3. So I've done a lot of stuff. I've rebuilt the entire front end on this. I have custom leaf springs on it. I have my Dana 44 right here in the front with the locker. I have the front hubs because I switched it over from full-time 4x4. I've got the Ford 8.8 with the LSD in the back, disc brakes all the way around. I even have the hydro boost system and dual batteries aside with my winch, and a lot of it is pretty much just painted and ready to be, finished. If I just get a nice set of fenders, I get a nice set of doors and a new bed, basically this truck will be done. I have the hood actually chilling right there in the barn. Why would I actually do this? Why would I go to the trouble of disassembling the entire truck and essentially moving it over to a new truck? And this question can be answered in two ways. The first way is because finding trucks that are 1975 and down are really, really difficult, and finding them in decent condition are even harder. And the reason it has to be 1975 and down is because I live in California, and because I live in California, anything above 1975 has to have a smog, which means I can't do anything custom, I can't do anything trick, or I'm going to be spending $300, $400, $500 a year trying to get the smogs done on this, and it's getting harder and harder to get those done. So the best way to actually take care of them is to actually build a vehicle that is smog exempt instead of trying to jump through hoops trying to do all the smogs. So that's reason number one. This is the setup in my interior right now. I have a custom bench seat that I had made for me. I have my roll bar, harness bar, I have my tilt column, and it is a single cab. So the problem that I initially had when I was building this truck is I actually wanted bucket seats that could recline, that could adjust, that could slide fairly easily, so different people could actually hop in and actually drive the vehicle. Because of the way everything's all set up and I don't have any room in the back, I wasn't actually able to get the reclinable seats with the sliders in them because the back would actually hit, and because the seat belt was actually integrated into the bucket seats that I wanted to use, I just didn't have the room for it. I could always put Ram Charger seats, but those are not nearly as adjustable as some of the modern seats I wanted to use. So the option was to switch over to a extended cab, and that way I'm able to run whatever seats that I want, whatever column that I want, and I have room in the back to put whatever I want as well. So that's huge for me. It's actually really, really important. So aside from the cosmetics and the comfort that I want to have with that truck, there's also something else that's actually really, really important. I mentioned that I was going to convert this frame to four-wheel drive, and originally I was just going to get my hands on a couple of leaf springs for the front and then install the hangers and do everything and call it good. But as I was getting closer and closer to getting this taken care of, I realized that I actually don't want leaf springs in the front. I have leaf springs in all four corners in the truck already, And although the articulation is phenomenal and I can get anywhere I want to, the ride is really rough. So I want a little bit more adjustability, I want a little bit more control, and I want a little bit more solid steering. I am going to be switching over to crossover steering fairly soon, but in order to do that, I have to finish setting up my front axle, and I don't want to finish setting up my front axle on leaf spring. So in order to take advantage of everything, I'm going to actually be building a 4-link system for the front. So it'll be 4 links, 2 on each side, and then it'll have the pan hard bar in the middle. And I'm going to be eliminating the 2-wheel drive cross member, and I'm going to be eliminating all the stuff along the sides, and that's all going to be 4-link. And I'm going to build a custom cradle as I box the frame. So there's a lot of stuff I have to do before I get to the point where I have to do the suspension, because everything that has to be inside the frame has to stay there, and I'm not ready for that yet. But I think the plan for right now is actually take off whatever parts that I need off of that truck, put them on this truck, and then I'm going to later find a set of parts for that truck that I can install and use later. And I've done a lot of work to the core support, I've done a lot of work to the fender wells, I've done a lot of work to a lot of the parts that are on here, and I don't want to really do it twice. And especially because I plan to actually put stock drivetrain back in here, I'm going to want something a little bit more original. This truck used to be a 318 3-speed truck, and now I'm actually going to be switching it over to the drivetrain that's in the Ram Charger. That's a 360 with a 3-speed overdrive, and it has a 4-wheel drive system already on it. It's basically just yank it out, take off all of the TBI or carburetor stuff that's on it right now, and I'm going to drop it into this truck. All the important parts out of this, like all the drivetrain, the core support, the grill, and everything, that's all going to go to the new truck. After that, I'm going to find replacement parts for this. Even if they're old rusty stuff, I'm going to throw it on and I'm going to assemble this truck back together. I'm sure eventually I'll find the correct VIN tag to be placing on either one of these, but in the meantime, I do have to consolidate my resources. But in reality, until I actually get around to putting the cab on the body, I'm going to be driving this truck around basically until that truck's almost done. So this truck's not necessarily going to go anywhere yet, but it will be torn apart fairly soon. So let me know what you guys think of my ideas in the comments below. I will see you guys all in the next one. Night Wrencher out.